Hey everyone, I'm Addison and I'm here with Pi3rce TV today, and we're going to interview Olivia and talk about her new single Till Death and some other exciting things that she's working on. So thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking and thanks for taking the time to do this with us today.
Of course, I'm really excited.
I'm excited too. So your single is such a beautiful song. I'm so excited that I got to take a listen to it before it comes out. But before we kind of dive into that, I wanted to touch on your music career. So at just 13 years old, you started writing, producing, and releasing like all original music. And I was wondering when you realized that music was something you wanted to pursue full time.
Yeah, well, thank you. Let's see. So I grew up in a family of entertainers. So my dad was in the film industry, and my mom was a professional singer and performer and actress. So I've kind of always been around it and in the industry by proxy, but I was also acting at a very young age and on stage my whole life. So um, it was just kind of a given for me that I was going to be some sort of performer.
Mhm.
And I'm really, really glad that I chose specifically like music because I think it's the one with the most longevity, which is really important to me. I want to be able to do this forever,
Mhm.
and it's really the only like career you can really have the longest one in. So I'm really happy
Yeah.
that it worked out that way. But I was a really strong writer when I was
Mhm.
young. I just started really getting into poetry, and I loved to read. I was really socially awkward, so I would just read constantly. I was the girl with the books everywhere I went. So reading just kind of led me to be a very good writer. I started writing poetry. I won awards for it in school. And then I started to turn poetry into songs, which I think is
Wow.
kind of a good way to start it.
Yeah.
So my songs are really long and like not very
Mhm.
catchy and not very like mainstream, but I got one good like pop folk song out called Tea Party for One. It was very sweet, and it's actually a really
Aw.
nice, like classic country ballad. That was the first song I ever wrote and recorded. And I put it out at age 13, and it just kind of all snowballed from there. I've never stopped recording and writing. And it's absolutely my favorite thing to do is to be in the studio and to create a song from the ground up. I love the process so much. So it's really a labor of love every time.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's such an awesome story. And
Oh,
so,
thank you.
yeah, of course. So, only 3 years later, you released your second single with you, and that made it to the national FMQB charts, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, so
And
I started to write more. I put out an EP. So when I was like
mhm,
15, I put out this album, and we decided to push the single to radio. And
mhm,
it's all just very lucky. I'm very lucky to be able to do all of this at such a young age. And we had a neighbor who worked for a radio promotion company that was totally out of the blue. And he helped us just get it out there, and they liked it so much that they kept playing it, and it got to the top 10. So it was really crazy. I was in high school, and I remember seeing my name right next to Taylor Swift and Adele, and I was just freaking out. Like, that's not real. That can't possibly be
that's
real.
so insane. What did that feel like? Can you even describe it?
It's just like the best feeling in the world to feel like you're winning at something you
Yeah,
love. And the hard work and the impossibility of it all to actually like be answered and to be like, no, you can do this. Like, you actually could
yeah.
do this. It's
It's probably
really,
the most rewarding feeling.
yeah, it's just like winning like the goal at the game, and it's everyone can relate to it for sure. But it was really mind blowing. It gave me a lot of pride because again, I remember being like feeling like such an outcast at school, but then having this in my life really helped me because I felt like I had a purpose outside of feeling lonely and depressed all the time. So it really
Aw.
it just felt really good to be validated, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people can kind of relate to what that feels like once they find their thing that they're
Mhm.
supposed to be doing.
For sure. So I'm glad it worked out. But yeah, that was a nice little folk record. We made a really big music video for it, and with like a
Mhm.
drone and a waterfall. And like my friend drove a blue Mustang through the
Wow.
hills, and we had like all these aerial shots. It was really fun. Yeah, so that was kind of my heyday. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of been a struggle from there, but that's just the industry. That's how it goes.
Yeah, it is a tough industry, but you're so positive and everything kind of works its way through. So, I wanted to talk about your move to Nashville. So, you moved to Nashville to pursue country music at first. And so, I was wondering if you could elaborate on your transition from country music to more mainstream alternative music.
Absolutely. So I really fell in love with country in my hometown in California. It's like a little tiny mountain town with like barely any people. And it's a big country music hub in Ventura County out there. And so there were these radio contests called Nash Next.
Mhm.
And I kept getting pretty big spots, and they'd have my song play on the radio at K out there. And I would like get like third place or something. I forget what happened, but I didn't win it. When you win, you go to Nashville and you like
Okay.
get to write there and like do all that. But from that contest, I was actually introduced to some people at BMG Records, and I wanted to write with them and write for them, and they were interested in having me write for them. And I was like, by the way, I really want to do country. I know you have a Nashville office. So they sent me out there to kind of feel it out and see how Nashville worked and felt with me. And I fell in love with the city. It's just, I have severe social anxiety and I do struggle with depression. So for me, being able to navigate a city
Mhm.
so easily like Nashville is just amazing. It fits me perfectly because it's small, it's a bit slower, but it also has that like excitement and a lot of industry here.
Mhm.
So it's a perfect place for me just because I love country. I love country music. I love being in the country and in the South, but I also wanted something a bit more exciting. But I
Mhm.
also can't handle too much like LA faces that I want to throw up every time I'm in LA. It's something like physical for me.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of sucks because I grew up there and I miss it,
Yeah.
but I've never felt good there. I just felt nauseous all the time. So I'm much better here. And I just love the people. There's an amazing pop scene here, which is really kind of how I started to transition into where I'm at now, is just by the influence of other people that I was working with. And as I got deeper and deeper into country music, I kind of realized this isn't really for me. This isn't the place for me. I feel like I have to kind of try to fit in, and I don't think that that will go over very well because country people don't, the country fans don't like people trying to be country. So that's
Yeah.
not even something that will be successful. And I was like, well, I'm not that country. Like, I love it, but it's kind of hard for me to fit in with all the fishing and the hunting and the beer
Yeah.
and the trucks. I don't really fit that. And it's kind of all they're looking for right now. At the time, a few years ago, it was like very much bro country was the norm.
Mhm.
So I was like, I don't know if I want to do this forever, but I met a really great production team called the Invisible Heroes Productions, and we started to take the country songs that I had written and kind of turn them into pop. And we just kind of let the production breathe for itself. And so we didn't try to make it anything. It just kind of was whatever naturally happened. So it ended up being very bubblegum pop. And then we had one very dark pop song. And once the album released, I decided to see what people really responded to. And the dark pop song really grabbed the most people. So I started to go, okay, maybe that's where I need to go. And that's what I should follow, because it was my favorite too. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I love it. They love it. Let's see if we can go down that road. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've just been trying to get further and further into that niche. And I
Mhm.
think I finally figured it out this year. So it's taken like a 3-year journey for me to really
Mhm.
get to who I think I am as an artist.
I love that. That's awesome. And that kind of transitions into the next question. I really want to dive into your upcoming single, Till Death. And I'd love to talk about what the inspiration was behind that song and the creative process. It's such a beautiful song. I feel like there's so much meaning behind it.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty deep song, deep like
Yeah.
the grave, haha. But Till Death is about the way I see love, and the way that I do love in my own life is that I go till death and beyond. So when I make my vow, it is eternal, and even if one of us dies, the love will still be there. At least for me, I will always love my partner even after death. And I'm kind of coming more to the realization that I believe that we have more than one life, and we have past lives and other lifetimes. And so to me, I love the idea of finding your soulmate throughout time, and
Aw.
that the love never ends. So that's kind of what the song is about, is it's till death and even longer still.
Mhm.
That's what that line means, is that I'll still find you in the next lifetime, and we'll keep our eternal love going forever.
That's a beautiful line.
Thank you. I love this song. I wrote it with the Invisible Heroes team, and they helped me produce it beautifully. And yeah, it really turned out great.
Is there or was the creative process for this song any different than some of the other songs that you've written and released, or do you follow a pretty similar structure each time?
I really like to go in with a chorus, or at
Mm,
least something written, and
okay.
then we can build around that. I don't like going in cold. It freaks me out. I don't think I'm that good on my feet anymore. And the anxiety aspect is kind of hinders me when I feel like there's a lot of pressure. So I like to go in with already an idea, a melody, some words. Let's build it from here. So we
Mhm.
did that. I had the chorus already written, and I came in one day and they showed me a track that they had built for me in the studio. And I said, no way. That's the exact melody of the song I just wrote.
Wow.
So it was like the craziest, most serendipitous thing I've ever experienced, that like they literally wrote the track before I showed them the song, and it was perfect.
That's insane.
So yeah, so the track you're hearing was like way before the song was even introduced, and
Wow.
it fit like so perfectly. So yeah, it was a really magical moment, and I'm really glad that it worked out that way. And we just wrote
Yeah.
it in like an hour and a half, and then we built it out from there.
Wow. That's insane. I guess that's how you know this is like the song, how it
Yeah,
was.
everyone, it's crazy because I just released a really dramatic version of Don't Fear the Reaper,
Mhm.
which I thought would be like so incredible to everyone because it's so different than anything I've ever done. But everyone I have showed my songs to goes, Till Death is my favorite. And that's so weird because it's like soft and it's sweet and it's slow. And I was like, oh, this is boring. No one will like this. But it's actually everyone's favorite. So I'm really, really happy with the response.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I think a lot of people will be able to really relate to it. And speaking of that, I was wondering if you could choose, what is your favorite line in the whole song and why?
I love the chorus. I'm so partial. Um, yeah, I love till death and even longer still, I'll hold my breath and wear your mark until I wake up next to you in another life. I'll fight with you through the darkest night until they rip the soul out of my chest till death. I'm just obsessed with it.
I'm obsessed with that too. I love it.
I'm like, I see a movie in my head, and I'm just so in love with the story of this song, because it's everything that I want to say to my partner that I can't say,
Mhm.
and that's just too hard to really grasp. It just kind of came out in this song, and it's a really beautiful love song to me, because I'm a bit morbid myself, and I'm a bit serious, so it is like the perfect love song from
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I see like this these scenes of like medieval like knights and
Hmm.
chivalry, and like the lady in waiting, and waiting for her knight to come home, and then he never does, and she's like, I'll love you forever. And that's just what kind of plays in my head when I hear it.
Yeah, I had a similar vision when you were saying the lyrics out loud. I could totally see that in my head.
Yay. I know, because I love old movies and I love fantasy movies. So I think that really inspired this for sure.
I love that. So that song is coming out very soon.
Yes.
So with that song and all of your other release songs and everything that you're working on, I was wondering if there are any artists in your life or throughout your life that have really inspired your music and your sound.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I love shouting out my influences. So I was addicted to Lorde in high school. It's all I did. Um,
Mhm.
listen to Lord over and over and over. It's like, she's a genius. You don't understand.
Uh,
And so I was like just showing everyone Lord. So Lord for sure kind of brought, I think she was how I found the way I like to songwrite. And I like to explain it to people that the way she writes is very serious and very casual.
mhm,
Like she'll go into poetry and then into something colloquial
mhm.
that everyone says. And just like that dynamic, I think is really cool. And then once I heard Billie Eilish after that, I was like, this is the sound I want.
Yeah.
So from there, I was like, okay, everything that I've been trying to figure out myself, she just did. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll just try to like go in her lane a little bit. And so I feel like from, seeing how flexible she could be, genre bending, creating new sounds, I've been kind of validated in my own artistry that like you can do whatever you want and you can have crazy ideas and like throw in some jazz and
Yeah.
have all of your influence come together. Because I listened to a lot of her interviews and it sounds like we listened to all the same music growing up, so that makes sense why I love what she makes.
Mhm.
um, so definitely Lord, Billy, and then Melanie Martinez, I got incredibly into because same thing, she's very serious. She has like incredibly beautiful poetry, and a lot of her songs center around mental illness, which speaks to me a lot.
Mhm.
As someone who struggles with mental illness and tries to write that into my music so that other people can relate to it as well.
Mhm.
So those are the big three. I also have all these little artists that I love. They're more successful than me though, so they're not that little. I really admire Mothica. I think she's so talented. Royal and the Serpent is so cool. And then some girls here, Notel is an incredible artist based in Nashville that I just love. And Talia Stewart is another dark pop queen here in Nashville. So a lot of people have influenced me recently to kind of be bolder. But I like to always go back to what I used to write and what I used to put out as like a young person without a lot of boundaries on me. And I try to always look to what would 13-year-old Olivia want and what would she do? Because I'm like, I peaked at like 13. I was so cool. I was so cool. And I was just so free and just did whatever I wanted.
Mhm.
So I'm always trying to get back to her standards. And I think that as long as I do that, I can always have my own unique vision, but
Mhm.
also take, inspiration from other people as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was gonna say your music does remind me of Lord, and I've
Cute.
been listening to her a lot lately. So then when I heard your song, you do have a similar sound, and I can see where that influence kind of comes from.
That's great to hear. Yeah, because I don't ever see that myself. So I'm
Mhm.
really glad that other people do.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it's hard to kind of see like where you're at until
Yeah.
you take like an outside perspective. But what goals do you have for your music career in the next few years? Like as big
Man,
as they get, as small, like what are they?
I really want to put out a huge Halloween album, and I'd love to have lots of other artists on it
Mhm.
and just create like this giant compilation of my favorite Halloween songs. Some I've written, some a lot of covers though, because I have so many ideas to like make songs sound completely different, like I did with the Don't Fear the Reaper. So that's a big goal I'm going to try to get to next year, if not the next. And I just want to keep kind of pushing into farther and farther into who I am as an artist and really figure out like my unique sound and establish it. So my goal is to get as much music out there as I can, just so that people from my discography will be able to understand who I am and what I sound like and my message. And so that takes time. It just does. So I
Yeah.
think the next few years will be building for me because
Mhm.
I love visual branding. That's what I go to school for and I do on the side for work. But so that part I can do no problem, but the songs and the music is really what makes an artist, and it's so laborious and it just takes a lot of years to really establish yourself. Like if you say Phoebe Bridgers, you know what she sounds like,
Yeah.
right? you know
Mhm.
what you're going to expect. You say Billie Eilish, you know her sound. Melanie Martinez, you know her sound. It's because they have albums out and so many songs of consistency. So I'm really trying to build consistency. I want to perform more. I stopped
Mhm.
performing once the pandemic hit, and I just haven't gotten back to it because I want it to be perfect. And I my anxiety is like, you can't do it yet. It's not perfect. So hopefully in 2022, my big goal is to start performing again, really get a show down because I think I have a really solid set now.
Mhm.
But I have so many really cool songs coming out. I'm gonna try to push into metal in one of them because I'm a big
Ooh,
metal head. I love
love
metal.
that.
So I'm like, how can I work that in a little bit? It's not going to be like my thing, but I definitely think that that can be a really good influence for me. So yeah, just, and I love folk too. That's where I started. So I'm like, how do I kind of work that in as well? But I think down the line, I will have a second project where I'll do a lot of folk and Americana
Mhm.
under a different name because I just love it so much. So yeah, I just want to make as much music as possible.
That's such a great goal. That's like the perfect goal to have. Um,
Thank
yeah, of course. So my last question that I always like to ask everyone that we interview is if there was one piece of advice you could give to someone who's trying to follow in a similar career path as you, what would it be?
Uh, so my advice to myself for a long time was don't be afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Fail as often as possible because then that means you won't be afraid to try things and to keep
Yeah.
moving. And I've kind of forgotten that a bit. And I think that that has really gotten me through a lot of really difficult failures because it's kind of, to me, I looked at it like a success, like just a step towards what I'm supposed to be doing then. And if you have that mindset, you're not going to like crumble on yourself and like wish you never went outside again because it's so
Yeah.
embarrassing that you failed. So I definitely think don't be afraid to fail because you're going to. This industry is really hard. It takes a lot of time and it might take your whole life, but who cares, you know?
Mhm.
As long as you're
It's like,
doing what you want to do, like that really does matter. It really does. And I used to want to be successful over everything. And I think that's a very, very toxic way of thinking about it because even no matter how good you are, it just takes time and work. And that's the truth of it. So you have to be patient. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to take breaks. Make sure that you trust the right people, get a lawyer, have a lawyer read everything you sign, try to sign not very many things, and don't let people take advantage of you and don't be desperate. So it's all right. I've made so many mistakes in my life and I've had so many mentors and people guiding me. I've still made thousands of mistakes. So it's just going to happen. So that's really my advice is don't be afraid. Um, but look out for yourself.
that's great advice. I love that. Taking that for me too. That's great. Thank you.
Of course. And reach out to people. Like I've met some wonderful people through like TikTok and Instagram, just like asking for help.
Yeah.
Um, some people are awful and some people are wonderful, and you really don't know until you try to contact them. So,
It never
um,
hurts to reach out.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. So I would say don't be afraid to ask for
Mhm.
help as well.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great getting to talk to you, and we're so excited for your single to come out.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Of
watch for
course.
Till Death coming out October 29th. It's the perfect Halloween vibe. We'll have a really great spooky music video for it that we filmed in a cemetery. And it's just really, really beautiful. So I can't wait to share that with everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.